Top Billin. Week 1 is here, and going to be doing a little thing that I call pre-snap reads, just going through a certain aspect that I think could be pivotal in certain games, right, on some of these teams that I cover. I'm going to start off with ATL, baby, the Atlanta Falcons versus the Seattle Seahawks, a matchup that we saw last year. A very peculiar matchup, right? It was one of the first times ever that I could remember that Matt Ryan wasn't the starting quarterback. He was out injured. So you had Matt Schaub filling in for him. And it looked like it was going to be pretty much a controlled game by Seattle, but Atlanta kind of mounted a little bit of a comeback. It was a crazy game for the simple fact that it really showed people who are all about passing yardage and stuff like that the game can still be won along the line of scrimmage, and it will always be decided along the line of scrimmage because Matt Schaub had like 900 passing yards, and Atlanta still lost 20, right? They was 27-20. They mounted 20 points with like 1 million passing yards. So, you know what I'm saying? And Seattle didn't really even get off in the passing game. I think Russell Wilson had like 180 yards or something like that. But what they did was control the game on the line of scrimmage by the run. So this is something that you cannot let somebody repeat the same thing if they're going to beat you. Like if you were in a combat fight and you had a rematch, you would not let somebody do the same thing, right? If they were landing body shots to you, there's no way they should land the same body shots in the second fight. But I'm pretty sure Seattle is still going to test that theory and see if the Falcons are no longer soft along the line of scrimmage as far as being able to stop the run. And it was just certain little key aspects, right, that the Falcons can do a little bit better, I think, to be able to match Seattle as far as the physicality and defensive run game. So the thing about this is Seattle and Atlanta are pretty much mirror images of each other. Of course, Atlanta was built in the mold, at least originally, of trying to be like Seattle, obviously with the former defensive coordinator of Seattle being the head coach. Schemes are very much the same on both sides of the ball, actually. You could easily put Brian Schottenheimer as Atlanta's offensive coordinator, and you wouldn't miss a beat. You wouldn't really notice anything different because Dirk Cutter and Brian Schottenheimer very much cut from the same cloth. And then, of course, the defensive coordinator with your man Ken Norton there, he could easily be Atlanta's defensive coordinator, and you would see the same shit, right? For the most part, right? I think Atlanta may be evolving certain things on his defense. Hopefully not. Hopefully it just tries to perfect what it originally intended. But we got to see, man. Both these teams make some pretty good acquisitions in the offseason. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. You just never know. Seattle being, to me, the best one, being able to add a guy like Jamal Adams, a top 10 player in the league probably, at least defensively, top 10 player in the league. And then, of course, Atlanta with some of the additions that it has, like a Todd Gurley and some of the guys on the defensive side of the ball. So both teams got some new guys there. Can't wait to see it kick off. Week 1 is here. Let's get into some of these key aspects here defensively for Atlanta.
What more can I say?
Top Billin. All right, just going to go over a few of these runs right here. If you can see on this one, Seattle's in an unbalanced formation. You got Cedric Ogbuehi next to Dwayne Brown here on the offensive line. So you can see where the strength of the formation is here with the unbalanced strength to the left here, right? Atlanta's countering with an odd front, but with an overhang defender in what was strong safety Ricardo Allen in this particular game here. So I noticed that he would play towards the strength of the formation, but he would play with some type of leverage, meaning Seattle is one of these teams that really like to cut the ball back against the grain on a lot of their zone runs. Atlanta's like this too. These guys are running a similar scheme, so they should know the basis of the scheme and how to at least dampen it, right? Can't stop a scheme, even if you know what's coming. That's the good thing about running the ball. You can know what's coming and still not be able to stop it because it's still about physicality and effort and stuff like that. So we can go ahead and run this right here. This is just an inside zone. And Chris Carson, see, this is good right here. When they motion this over here, that changes the blocking right there and leaves it one-on-one with Isaiah Oliver. So if Isaiah Oliver right here could have stopped this at the line of scrimmage, it wouldn't have been that big of a game. But when they motion him over here, that changes the blocking for them, right? So the first order of business for the receiver who was motioned over is to get the first thing smoking, which would be Ricardo Allen here. Then that leaves Oliver, who motioned over, as now the guy to replace, right? So he's the replace guy here. But you can see, man, you got a double going on right here on the 3 technique, and everybody else is soloed up. So somebody has to get off the block, right? You could say people are 2-gapping here, like Devondre Campbell and these guys, right? So if everyone is soloed up, everybody's accounted for. That means that 2 guys are left. So you got Deion Jones here and Isaiah Oliver. He needs to come down there and press this and be ready to break down in space, because with him being Deion Jones being uncovered here, you know that it's an inside zone. Somebody's going to climb up to the next level. And I've told you guys before, Deion Jones is not getting off of blocks. So that's what makes the run game kind of scary for Atlanta, is because you're using guys that are like 220 pounds or something like that. And these guys are getting climbed up on, and they're not going to necessarily get off blocks or take blocks head on or whatever like that, right? So he's going to skirt around the block a little bit and then get off of it that way. But normally this inside zone would have came to Deion Jones' side, what came to where Deion Jones is at, would probably have been his natural progression of doing it here. But you can see a breach here by Atlanta. So Deion Jones actually gets to be worked back into play because he's going to skirt around the block, as you see here. But this is one-on-one. Isaiah Oliver, one-on-one. This is a tougher tackle than people think, right? I know it's cool for us to sit up here at a desk or on the phone or whatever you guys are at and be like, oh, he should make this tackle. This is a tough tackle. It's an open field tackle with a guy who's bigger than you straight up right there. But you got to be able to do what you got to do here. Breaks down in space. Doesn't get it. Gets stiff-armed when this could have been actually a loss here, and then gets beat to the edge. Right, Deion Jones running back weak side helping out. But this is what they did, man. They had 6, 7, 8, 9-yard runs at a clip. Nothing too big, no 25, 30-yard runs and stuff like that. It was death by 1,000 cuts. They were able to control the ball that way, and then they didn't turn it over. All right, so check this one out right here. Another one, like I showed you before, right? All gaps covered until they're not. That's just what it is right here. I want you to check Jack Crawford out on this particular play here. Now look at this. He gets his ass washed away like rain. Gets his ass washed away like rain, right? You can see right here another zone play. Everyone stepping zone side there. Now, check this out right here. This time you got double-double, right? So duo, and you can see Atlanta's line of scrimmage players. Grady Jarrett right here, Jack Crawford right here. They're both turned, right? Almost perpendicular. They're getting their asses washed away instead of being able to stay parallel to the line of scrimmage and run with those doubles like that, right? You're probably not going to defeat a double. Actually, there are people in the league who defeat doubles, right? Those are your elite players, Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt, and these guys like that. So definitely got to get some players to that. I think Grady Jarrett has that in him, and he's done so numerous times as well. But on this particular one, you can see them, especially Jack Crawford right here. Looks like all gaps are covered with Devondre Campbell coming downhill. So he forces this, right? Initially, it looks like he's going to have to cut it back and then go one-on-one with Ricardo Allen. Like I said before, you see Ricardo Allen, what is he? Lined up to the strength of the formation, turned in with leverage. So he's almost like your third linebacker in this situation here. Devondre Campbell presses, right? Presses through the interior gap here. And then it looks like everything's all covered. He's going to have to shoot it back towards Ricardo Allen, but Jack Crawford gets washed away like rain. Leaves with something on the inside. Another 7, 8-yard gain. Death by 1,000 cuts. They played that rudimentary ball, right? Run the ball a little bit. They would hit like a 20-yard play downfield, or they would throw a screen pass and then get like a 20-yard play downfield, but then they just kept 7, 8, 9-yard runs, not turn the ball over, wash, rinse, and repeat. They didn't have to do much to win this game. It's crazy to think that. All right, so on this particular one here, this is just Russell Wilson being smart and audibling. He can tell that there's no interior lineman on this particular defensive set here. So why not motion your guy in and then run some type of inside zone, right? Or some type of quick inside zone. Look at that. Motion your guy in. They thought it was going to be some type of pass. Boom. Easy work. Easy work there. So just use what you're doing against you. It's always a counter to what you're doing. Look at that. Everyone's soloed up. Then it becomes your weak side help here, Deion Jones, his ability to get the guy on the ground. But by the time he even gets to Deion Jones, look at him. He's already like 6 or 7 yards down the field. Take what the defense gives you. That's just what they're doing. They're not selfish. Russell Wilson, right? MVP caliber player, 180 yards passing. That's what they're trying to win the Super Bowl. That's the thing about Seattle and these franchises. I feel like they're just trying to win the Super Bowl. They're not trying to be cute. They're not trying to appease anyone or whatever like that. They'll do whatever it takes to win a Super Bowl, and they have a bunch of selfless players and a selfless staff that'll do what it takes to do that. All right, so check this one right here, right? Like I said before, man, sometimes you have all gaps covered. Everyone's accounted for. It's one player's mistake that can cost you a big gainer or whatever like that. Check that out right there. They had Ricardo Allen in the perfect place most of this game, right? He's in the perfect spot for this, right? He's there to get the cutback. But what Seattle did was, right, under center, back to the basket, play action fakes. They were doing their bootleg game off of that. So damned if you do, damned if you don't on this particular one right here. This could have been, right, your bootleg, and Ricardo Allen would have been right here to catch Russell Wilson backside and get himself a sack there. However, he misread it. Back to the basket, play action fake, misread it. He's the key right here. So you got the lineman right here about to climb up to Devondre Campbell. That leaves one man. It's usually going to come down to one-on-one situation. Who's going to be the uncovered man that gets it? Most of the time, it's probably going to be a Deion Jones or probably one of these safeties or someone of that sort. But Allen misplays this right here. Looking at Wilson, had he been a little bit more patient, right? Had it been a little bit more patient, how maybe he could have forced Russell Wilson's hand right here or forced Rashad Penny's hand, depending on who had the ball. But he's extremely aggressive going after Russell Wilson. The cutback lane is no longer there, or the cutback defense is no longer there, and it provides for a cutback lane. So it's a pretty decent gainer for him right there. So one more time. See it there. Even on the line of scrimmage right here, Vic Beasley gets his ass washed away like rain as well. Vic Beasley getting washed away. Jack Crawford getting washed again, turning perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. Look at it. He's getting his ass ran up out the club. Get your ass out this club right now. Look at that. A 10-car pile up there. Vic Beasley washed away. They can do a little bit better in this aspect, right? They just can. In that aspect, against this team right here, I still think it's going to be predicated on the run. They have some super fast receivers. I think everybody on the team runs a 4-3. That'll be starting at receiver, the DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, at least kind of a low 4-4 or something like that. And then they added Philip Dorsett, a guy who I know runs a 4-3. So they got some guys who can go get it down the field. So that's going to put you in a conflict of assignment there. However, you cannot let them get off on you on the ground. You can't let them overpower you on the ground. You can't let them out-physical you. You have to at least win it there and force them to go up top, right? You can go up top, get them into the red zone, then they not be able to punch it in. It's a whole nother game. It's just like what they did to Atlanta pretty much, right? Atlanta was getting those empty calorie yards. That's what I call it. It's empty calories, right? It's like eating candy. Get those empty calorie yards, you get to the red zone, and then you bog down and have to kick a field goal. But if death by 1,000 cuts, you can go all the way up and down the field right there, right? It's going to be no different from you. For 7 yards, getting it between the 20s or getting it in the red zone, you're still going to be able to get those 7 yards if you can run the ball. So that's my take on that. You guys let me know right there if Atlanta be able to stop the run this particular. Did they do enough right there to be able to combat this and keep it through the air? And then if it goes through the air, did they do enough to work against the pass as well? So obviously there's going to be other aspects that make or break this game, but this is one that stood out to me in this particular game. All right, but it's your boy Murph, the Underground King. A little bit of pre-snap reads here. Catch me on the flip side. Your boy is out. Peace.
What more can I say?
Top Billin.